in college. I had a group of friends. I'm going to try this mic. I had a group of friends. There we go, peeps. Group of friends in college where every time we got together, we wanted to make a memory. That was just what we did. Because we wanted to remember that moment. And there was one time, actually this was a friend of mine from high school. And what we started doing senior year, because we were super, super cool. You guys have heard some of my stories. The whole pantsing incident, please. What we started doing is we'd hang out like McDonald's. Really exciting, but that's where people went after sports games and stuff. We'd all go to McDonald's. So what my friend and I would do is we would start taking moist towelettes. Yeah, I said moist, I hate that word as much as you do, but moist towelettes. We would start grabbing them by like the handfuls and start putting it in our pockets and stuff. Okay guys, after a couple months, before we knew it, we had like a duffel bag full of moist towelettes, and we're like, we don't know what we're going to do with it, but we're going to do something. And it was this whole process. It was kind of like, I don't know what that's like. You can't compare that to anything else. But so one day we decided we had enough moist towelettes to do something. So we got a couple of our friends together. I'm not giving you ideas, but I might totally be. And we just decided we were going to moist towelette my friend's car. So we were hanging out just at some party with a bunch of our friends there, and his car was parked outside. So we decided very meticulously for 3 hours to unwrap each individual moist towelette and lay it along his car. The entire thing was covered. You want to talk about a memory? That's the stuff I remember. Those are the things I remember, you guys. I remember a few years ago on the Mexico trip that I led with my last church, and I remember one morning I just woke up and there was one of the students with me. I'm like, we were the first ones up. And I just go, dude, you know what we should do? As soon as every single person gets out of their tent, we should give them a hug before they have a chance to even touch the dirt with their foot out of their tent. He's like, done. So what we did is we would just wait for the zipper, and we would tear off, and whoever stepped out, we would just welcome them with a morning hug. Before we knew it, we had like 15 to 20 people in our crew hugging everybody who woke up that morning. That became tradition for the next few days of that camp, and year after year that became a tradition. We made a memory. Because that was what was important. Those people remember that. I remember that. I remember just giving people hugs and just the smiles and the first thing in the morning. Those things are important. Those are those relationship things. What would you guys do if you saw somebody drowning? Like literally drowning. You would either try to perform CPR on them, or you'd get somebody quick who could. If you saw somebody drowning or somebody who couldn't breathe or somebody choking, you would try to perform CPR to nurse them back to life. But what happens when you're spiritually and mentally drowning? You personally, in your life. What happens when you are you're literally dying? You can't breathe. You just kind of lost touch with reality. You forgot all these things that you used to know, and you just need something. Well, tonight I want to tell you guys how to perform CPR in your life. And I hope this makes sense, because I want you guys to use this. Some of you guys are transitioning off to college. Some of you guys are going to a different school next year. Some of you guys are just trying to learn what this whole thing's all about for the first time. But regardless, you're going to be somewhere at some point where you're going to need CPR in your life. So here's how I define CPR. The C is for connect. When you guys are drowning, when you're struggling, when you can't breathe in life, connect. Connect to other people. Make a connection back to God. Connect to a church. Connect to a group of fellowship. Connect to a team. Get connected. Get reconnected to somebody who was close to you. Maybe it was a former small group leader you lost touch with. Get connected. Stay connected. That connect piece is huge, because in life, one of the things that I've learned, that I was taught, was to stay connected to the people that I struggle being around the most. I would just call that your enemies. Because when you stay emotionally connected, you won't believe what that can do for your soul. If you are around the person you can't stand the most in life, you won't believe what that connection will do for your soul. So C is for connect. P is for prepare. Prepare can look a lot of different ways. I almost put prayer, I almost put purpose, there's a lot of P words. I said prepare because prepare means that you are making plans. You're not going to let yourself be complacent. You're making a choice to say, I'm drowning here, I can't breathe in my spiritual life. I need to start making some plans. I'm going to prepare. So those plans are your dreams, they're your visions, they're goals. Make some goals, small, short-term goals, long-term goals. Start preparing. And how do you prepare? You study. You prepare when you connect. And the third letter is R, which I think wraps this whole thing together, this idea of CPR. And I would say is the most important. R is for remember. Remember. Remember who you are. Remember that people love you. Remember that you have a purpose. Remember that you're unique. Remember that you are created and loved by the God of the universe. Because when you remember that, if you truly know that, if that's something you've learned along the way and you've lost sight of, it's like, gosh, I can't remember who that is. Just like my wife couldn't remember who the president was when she was born. If you can't remember, you've got to make a connection. You've got to prepare and you've got to get to a place where you remember who you are. When you remember who you really are, oh yeah, that's right. That's right, it is all about the tennis balls. Because I promise you guys that when you practice CPR in your own life, that you will be able to pass any and every test that comes your way, regardless of the circumstance you're under. It was mentioned yesterday upstairs in the sermon, Pastor Scott talked about storms, and when you're in the middle of a storm, when you're in the middle of that season where everything's so busy and it's all sand and that's all you see, when you're in the middle of that season of life, if it's not good, if you're stressed out, if you're worried, if you're anxious, if it's not good, it's not the end. Because the end is good. So you're not there yet. You're not at the end. You're in the middle. When Paul was in jail, Paul understood this. He understood what his priorities were. And it didn't matter if he was put to death. It didn't matter that he was in jail. It didn't matter if he was on a cruise in Jamaica. Whatever that looked like for Paul, he just understood his circumstance. He's like, I know what my mission statement is. I know what my mission statement is. And he says this, so he's writing a letter and he's saying all this stuff like, it really doesn't matter what happens to me. I'm going to keep doing what I'm going to do. I'm going to preach what I got to preach because I got this message and I got this mission statement and I'm going to do it regardless of my circumstance. And he's telling these people, much like I'm telling you. A lot of you guys I'll see in a week on houseboats, and a lot of you guys will be around for a couple years. A lot of you guys are bailing and head off to a new place, to a new school, to a new community. Whatever that looks like, there won't ever be a time where every single person in this room that's here right now will be sitting in this room again under this circumstance. So what I'm saying to you is what Paul said. And here's what he told people, because you don't know what the future holds for everybody, for all of us. But what we can commit to together as followers of Christ, in Philippians 1:27, he says, whatever happens, conduct yourself in a manner worthy of the gospel of Christ. Then whether I come and see you or only hear about you in my absence, meaning when we're apart, if I only hear about you, or I might see you, I will know that you stand firm in one spirit, striving together as one for the faith of the gospel. I love that. That's just saying, I trust you guys just like you trust me, that whether we're together or not, you guys are out there preaching the same message and living your life the same way that I'm trying to, and it's worthy of the gospel of Christ.